Good morning. Grand Rising, everybody. Grand Rising, how you doing? This is Coach Renz. We are starting a little bit late because I had a VA appointment this morning. Got here as quickly as I could. As you guys know, I had some dental surgery yesterday, so we're going to see how well we can go through this law of rhythm. Today is Thursday. It's book club day. Book club. We are going through the law of rhythm. So if you have not been with us thus far, if you go to my YouTube channel, where I Left Religion with Coach Renz, look at the playlist. Go to the channel, click on playlist, and you will see a playlist for Kybalion. That way you can catch up and you can see the other videos that we've already done on the Kybalion. And that way, this is the Kybalion. This is the book, the Kybalion. This is what we're going through, the Kybalion. We are on the chapter, and we read the word for word, and then we explain and talk about it in between each little different part of the reading. But that's what we're doing. I had 4 teeth taken out yesterday, the wisdom teeth. That's why my stuff started getting all crooked. I had 4 teeth taken out yesterday. We're going to try to make this happen. Just took some Tylenol. I'm on a Tylenol regimen with some other stuff. So I took it because I know somebody going to ask me, did you take your medicine? Grand Rising, Teresa, how you doing? So I didn't know if we was going to make it today, but we did make it today. We're doing the law of rhythm. We're going to start with the law of rhythm. I would say it's short, but y'all know I started yakking, and we stop and we talk and people ask questions, and we may not get to go through the law of causation as well, even though I think the law of causation is the most powerful law, second to the law of mentalism in this book. So we're going to see. What's up, Prince? How you doing? Morris, how are you? Grand Rising. Yes, I got a little bit of a headache, but we're going to try to read this. If the words get slurred a little bit, like I said, it's because I had 4 teeth taken out yesterday. They put a brother on, on Facebook or any of these programs, if I responded, anytime after 1 o'clock yesterday, if I responded to something, just know I responded, but I wasn't quite clear because they put me under. So I know one person, they was like, Coach, like with question marks. And I just typed their name. I don't know why. I just put their name in there in the comment, in the reply. Just put their name and put no context, nothing, just their name. So I was a little under the juice when I did that yesterday. So if y'all see something else like that, just ignore it. Just say, Coach Renz was under the juice. I was under the juice at the time. Because according to Angelina, I was saying a whole bunch of stuff after we left the surgical dental office yesterday. So we're going to try to keep it straight today. I'm good today. Got my faculties. Had 2 teeth taken out recently, so you understand the struggle. I know. I can't, and then she's going to tell me I can't have hot coffee. I can't have a cigar for about a week or so, but I can't have coffee. I got to eat all this soft food and all this stuff. So, but we going to do it. It's for my betterment. So, Eugene. So the book is the Kybalion. This is the book we're doing on Thursday till we finish this one, and then we'll do another book after that on Thursday. Thursday is book club day. So let's get started with the Kybalion. We previously did the law of polarity. And just as a recap, the law of polarity, for the most part, what we need to understand is that everything exists on a pole. And we focus too much on this, and we can't focus on the symptoms, but understand what the root of that the pole sits on. For instance, the book used the example of temperature. Not hot. You can't say a product is not hot, a product is not cold. That product may be hot, but that's hot relative to you. It's relative to someone else, it's cold. where it is on the scale, nobody knows where hot and cold begins or ends. It is a point of reference. But we do know that if the higher the vibration, the more to the right of the pole, you are hotter. The more to the left, you are colder. So, so in that we understand that the pole is temperature, or the pole is just heat, less heat, more heat, less heat. 72 degrees is hot compared to 70 degrees, but it's cold compared to 75 degrees. So it's less heat. So when you have a problem, when you're dealing with something, when you're trying to use the law of mentalism to create something in your life, understand what the pole is. Some people just say, I want to be rich. What is rich? Like, on what is the pole of wealth? Where do you land on that pole that you then become satisfied? And then what is the vibration that you need to put into well, we ain't got to vibration causation yet. Well, no, we went through vibration. So what is the higher vibration that you need in order to get to that level? To some people, making $182,000 a year, for example, that's rich. To some people, if you were somebody who was born absolute poor, and you were poor until you were 20, 25, 30, and then you recognize that in order to increase your wealth to 182, you need to achieve these certain things, and all of a sudden you're achieving 132, you're rich. That person is rich. You can't tell them anything, right? Can't tell them anything. We are talking about, if you're not talking about what we're talking about today, then I'm not answering your questions. And we're not even going into that. Today, Thursday, we're reading the Kybalion. So the Kybalion, the law of rhythm is what we're going through. So understand the law of polarity. Where something exists on the pole is in relationship to whether it's a higher vibration or a lower vibration. And the majority of people on here, we have walked away from traditional religions. So when we come to understand the pole, even in what is good and evil, or defined as the benevolent good God and the evil devil, they are but one of the same pole, just at different vibrations. So one and the same, just a different vibration. No matter how much you try to separate them. Where do these vibrations come from? Actually, that's more along the line. So where do these vibrations come from? It's not as simple. A vibration can just be a thought. A vibration is an action. A vibration is basically changing. Everything already vibrates. Nothing is standing still. Although these glasses may seem to be solid, every molecule, every atom is still vibrating, right? So but by increasing the vibration of the glasses, you can change the energy of the glasses, and they melt or they burn. They're just energy transmutation at that point from one form to the next form. So vibrating is just a difference of the frequency, increased or decreased. So you know how, like, if you see your frequency going like this, well, then you can have it going like this, kind of like your heart rate. It's moving faster. But it's all vibration. It is all movement. I was poor, but I showed the homeless. Because I had lived in the trunk of a car and worked my ass off. I think I understand what you're saying. The text thing sometimes is not right. Oh, Joe, so when I had typed your name on Facebook yesterday, I was just coming out of dental surgery, so I don't know why I put your name on there. Can't have one without the other. Just vibrating is a different frequency, exactly. Oh, now you have a 6-bedroom house. And for you, that is wealth. You have went from one state to another state. You've increased your vibration. You moved along the pole. from the lower income to the higher income. So, and then yet there's still higher. And even at the point that you were low, there is yet still lower. So the poles have millions of degrees on them. And so today we're going to get into the law of rhythm. That's our, and once again, for anybody who just not joined us, the book is the Kybalion. We literally going to read each word of it, but I will stop and keep, and if you have questions, I'll stop at some points and then explain some of it. That's burning them at a higher flame, but where does the vibration come from? They're just already here. There's no such thing. Energy is not created nor destroyed. Energy is always here. It's always been here. There is no, you can just, things are at a dead state and then it vibrates. For as long as man has had knowledge and existence and science can prove, everything has always vibrated, no matter what form of energy it is. Only people who have to have, you see, there's a difference maybe that you don't understand, D1, is I don't have to have an answer for everything. I don't have to be able to say, well, God started here. The universe started here. There are certain things you will never know the answer to, but you can always make up an answer. Yeah, good and the energy and idea of good and evil has always been here. Which religion is this? It's not a religion at all. The Kybalion is not a religion at all. It's more of a philosophy. It's the laws of the universe. It's philosophy and science, actually. It's the laws of the universe and just how the universe and natural law works. But no one is, so that's how the law of the universe works. But it also gives you an idea as higher thinking creatures of how we function in the universe as more of a philosophy. If you wanted to manifest something, create something, then you can go through the process of understanding these laws and you'll be able to manifest or create things. You can call it a religion if you want to, but it's just simply not a religion. A religion has a deity that you have rituals that you follow. You and I can increase our vibration as it relates to wealth, but have varying different ways. It's not the same process. You can have your idea of what the infinite intelligence is, but I can have a separate idea. It doesn't have to be the same. You know. Yeah, but a religion is having a deity that you worship. There is no worship in the Kybalion. There is no deity to worship. You don't worship any deity. There's a difference between being religious and having a religion. They can be intertwined. Having a religion has religious aspects to them, but religion requires. You said religion doesn't require a deity? Okay. If that's your definition, all right. But that's interesting. Buddhism, no deity. You're right, to a certain degree. Buddhism doesn't have a deity, which is why Buddhism is not a religion. Buddhism is a philosophy. But Western colonial mindsets says it's a religion. It's just like how Western colonial mindsets say that Hinduism is polytheistic when true Hinduism is monotheistic and not polytheistic. But we take the definition. I don't pray. I do meditate, but I focus on myself. I focus on things around me. But anyway, Buddhism in its pureness is not a religion. It's a philosophy. Just like Taoism, which comes out of Buddhism, is a simplification and philosophy. So you pray to your high. I don't pray, dude. I just said I don't pray. I don't. Oh, please. I don't pray. You know. But we're getting away from from the law of rhythm. Today is, we can talk about that after. But before 12 noon happens, I got to get through this chapter. But no, I don't pray. I just said I don't pray. And Joe's going to say, oh, you pray. You speak positive. Yeah, most of the time. That dude who cut me off today or almost called me to have a car wreck, I didn't speak positive to him. So if you are just finding this again, law of the Kybalion, today is Thursday. It is book club day. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifest in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The Kybalion. As you know, each time we go through this, one of these have a axiom that goes into it. Meditation and prayer is the same thing on different levels. I disagree. I don't agree with that. People always claim that, but I don't think meditation and prayer are nothing alike. But anyway, we are into the book. We can talk about that afterwards, but we're not talking about that right now because we're going to go through this book. This is a show that people requested, and I'm not going to string it out into something else until after we finish. The great fifth hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm, embodies the truth that in everything there is manifested a measured motion. The to and fro movement, the flow, the inflow, a swing forward and backwards, the pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and a low tide between the two poles manifesting on the physical, mental, and spiritual planes. The principle of rhythm is closely connected to the principle of polarity described in the preceding chapter. Rhythm manifests between the two poles established by principles of polarity. This does not mean, however, that the pendulum of rhythm swings to the extreme poles, for this rarely happens. In fact, it is difficult to establish the extreme polar opposite in the majority of cases, but the swing is ever towards the first one pole and then the other. So effectively, I'm sure you guys have seen a pendulum, right? So you've seen a pendulum of how it swings. Basically, for everything, as much as energy as it takes to swing to the right, it's going to take that energy. It will utilize that same energy to swing back to the left. So just as hot as it can be, is as cold as it can be, right? But normally, as we live our lives, we don't allow ourselves to swing as far to the left as we have swung to the right. Usually, we will stop our swing. Otherwise, if a person was extremely happy, then a person starts to swing into sadness, they will usually stop themselves before they get to the opposite of what that extreme happiness was, which could end in deep depression. But some people do fall past that and go into the deeper levels of depression and sadness and suicide and things of that nature, which is why we're going to get to a certain part, there's a fly in here, where it talks about a sub-law within the law of rhythm and polarization, law of rhythm and polarity, which is called polarization. But just understand, for right now, we swing. Let's see, anything about what we're talking about so far? You telling us information of your own polar opposites. We're reading the Kybalion. Hey, Didi, how you doing? There is always an action and reaction, an evidence of a retreat and a rising and a shrinking, manifested in all of the airs and phenomena of the universe. Suns, world, men, animal, plants, minerals, forces, energy, mind, and matter, yes, even spirit, manifest this principle. The principle manifest is the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and falls of nations, in the life history of all things, and finally in the mental states of man. That is one thing that you can always always be able to identify how this law of rhythm works, that there is always going to be a rise and a fall. Being a Marine, I was always in those units where we had to study military history. And in studying military history, there is always the rising of an empire and the collapsing of an empire. The belief that America will never fall is a false belief. As much as it rises, as much as it will fall. All things change. Change is a constant of the universe. As religions have come about, religions have died. The current modern day religions will one day be considered ancient myths. What the hell? They must have had this door open all day, and this fly is having a good time for getting in my face. So everything changed. Everything, everything goes through the cycle of growth and regression, and then growth again. And like when you're talking about money, building wealth earlier, we was talking about building wealth. Every economy, it rises and it falls. Those who understand the cycles are the ones who take advantage of the rising and the falling of cycles to be able to create the most amount of wealth. In every case, someone who knows when to invest, which is in a down market, more millionaires are created during a down market than in an up market, because they have the ability to capture it at its low, knowing that if it falls to this low, it will rise again to this height because it's been at this height before or even higher. And then they ride the waves. Kind of like Shiva. Mm-hmm. Recycle, everything comes back around. Yes, it does. Animals are the sacrifice because God shows the Bible. That got nothing to do with what we're talking about. All right. To continue, beginning with the manifestation of spirit of the all, it will be noticed that there is ever the outpouring and the indrawing, the outbreathing and the inbreathing of Brahman, as the Brahmins worded. The universes are created, which that's an interesting point right there. Since somebody had mentioned about meditation earlier, when depending upon what form of meditation that you participate in, the indrawing, which is called prana, is the drawing in of life, or the drawing in of breath, drawing in of life, the indrawing. But to try to hold it is to try to stop the vibration of it. But then to let it out is the nirvana. I don't know how old you guys are, but I grew up with the music group Nirvana. I just figured it meant, we thought it meant heaven, happiness. But when I learned about meditation, is like, this is the prana, this is the nirvana, the release, the letting go, the letting go of the air instead of trying to hold it. Because when I was a personal trainer, you get to the understand that when you hold your breath, you are creating acid buildup, and you start building up that acid. But you got to let it go. Just like when you're working out, you building up that acid, but you got to then rest in order to let it go. So everything has is drawing in and is releasing out. Those who look at the creation of the universe, of our current universe, as the singularity explodes, which is why our universe is still expanding, and then it retracts back, the bang and the crunch. And then this is a repetitive cycle that happens over and over again, which is what makes it eternal, because we have no idea. It's continuous, but there's always an expansion and a contraction. Let's see, 7 chakras, Holy Spirit, inhale, prana, and mindfulness, clearing the mind so that you see what's really going on. Right. When in mindful meditations, I've read that before. Wow, he knows the secret of creation. Wow, I know you're being sarcastic, so we're just going to keep on moving because I never claimed that. What book would you recommend for me? I don't know you, so it's kind of, I don't know what you're looking for, so I don't know what book to recommend. So, heard of Rudolf Steiner? Nope, I have not. All right, so let's continue this chapter. Brahman worded, universes are created, reach their extreme low point of materiality, and then then begin in their upward swing. Suns spring into being, and then their height of power being reached, the process of retrogression begins. And after eons, they become dead masses of matter awaiting another impulse, which starts again their inner energies into activity and new solar life cycles. But I'm sure we've all heard of how a sun, it grows and grows, becomes a red giant, and then it collapses and becomes a white dwarf, and then that we believe, scientifically believe, that that's a repetitive cycle. But since this happens over billions and billions of years, it is something that we, no civilization has been able to observe. Well, no observable civilization has taken the time to observe. So maybe 5 billion, 10 billion years from now, there will be enough observation to be able to know exactly how that process works. I had to check out his books. Where was I? And thus it is with all the worlds that are born, grow, and die, only to be reborn. And thus it is with all the things of shape and form. They swing from action to reaction, from birth to death, from activity to inactivity, and then back again. Thus it is with all living things. They are born, grow, and die, and then are reborn. So it is with all great movements, philosophies, creeds, fashion, governments, nations, and all established, and all else birth, growth, maturity, decadence, death, and then a new birth. The swing of the pendulum is ever in evidence. Um, some people, this would also include the idea of reincarnation. As we are born, we grow, then we die, as far as the earth body is concerned, and then return back into being reborn again. Uh, Even whether it is to be reborn here at this level of consciousness relative to what you've done in your previous past. If you're Hindu, then are you Hindu? Did you satisfy your dharma so that you can come back in a higher caste? Or if you're Buddhist, satisfying your dharma so that you can then try to obtain the Buddha head, is relative to which version of the philosophies that you're following. Um, but even in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the total boat, uh, trying to say that one hurt. As for you, if you haven't joined me, my jaw is killing me a little bit because I had dental surgery yesterday. But the Bardo Total talks about going through the process of samsara, where your mental creations uh, and how you respond to them determines whether you ascend to a higher plane, stay entrapment into the demon world, or you choose one of the birth tunnels that are available to you to come back to a matter form existence. But the law of rhythm is one of the kind of universal teachings that goes through life to growth, to decadence, to then death. But we can see that in every aspects of our life. Right, samsara is reincarnation, but there is a point in samsara where you cannot reincarnate. You reincarnate no matter what, true, but there's a part where you don't have to come back here to earth, and that would be like the primary thing. No, I wouldn't want to come back to earth because humans. Oof. All right, night follows day and day night. The pendulum swings from summer to winter and then back again. The corpuscle, atom, molecules, and all masses of matter swing around the circle of their nature. There is no such thing as absolute rest or cessation from movement, and all movements partake of rhythm. The principle of universal application, it may be applied to any question or phenomenon of any of the many planes of life. It may be applied to all phases of human activity. There is always a rhythm swing from one pole to the other. The universal pendulum is ever in motion. The tides of life flow in and out according to law. We want to understand this because there is a rhythm to how we even live our lives. All right. There are activities that you can do to increase the happiness, increase your peace, increase your joy. And there are things that you can do to allow it to swing back to the left. So having an awareness of that there is a rhythm is primary to the how you exist. Whether you want to be a sad sack or you want to be happy. Is that the same as turning away from the light and following and flowing out into the universe? Are you in reverse samsara? As we was talking about the samsara part. Nah, and it depends. Like the Tibetan version of Buddhism and going through samsara. If you turn away from the light, then the next thing that you're supposed to experience would be all the negative thought processes that you have, and then the going out into having all these universal lights, which are just entryways back into wounds. But like in Gnostics, it is more going into the flow of the universe. I don't know what y'all talking about some angels killing people. But you do have to go through the darkness. I understand what you're saying. Going through the darkness to get to the light. Because how would you know that there is light without darkness? You have to go through. There has to be darkness in order for there to be light. You can't have one over the other. That goes back to the law of polarity. People don't like the truth. Nah, they don't. All right. So to continue wherever the heck we left off, which was right here. So the principle of rhythm is well understood by modern science and is considered a universal law as applied to material things. But the Hermetists carry the principle much further and know that its manifestations and influence extend to the mental activities of man, and that it accounts for the bewildering succession of moods, feelings, and other annoying and perplexing changes that we notice in ourselves. But the Hermetists, by studying the operations of the principle, have learned to escape some of the activities by transmutation. And like I was saying, this extends for just being able to understand how you can change your mood, change the mood of the room, the people around you, by understanding that rhythm, the rhythm of how something works. Perfect, easy example. If any of you guys are a DJ, then you know exactly what I'm talking about as far as how you can swing a room up and down, and you know when to do it, when to swing a room, when to kick the party up, and then how many songs you need before you bring them down, then back up, then back down. Thank you. Then back up and back down. Thank you, Laura. Um, so, or not that I'm not picking on pastors for this one, but in most cases, as a pastor is getting ready to, as they are getting ready to take offering, this is not something to pick. This is something just for understand how rhythm and energy works with people. When they're getting ready to take the offering, the music starts to play, and the rhythm of his voice or her voice starts to elevate, and they hit certain points. Even when given, and they know it charges the people up for them to be more giving. That's done on purpose. I don't blame them for it. It's done on purpose. In any situation, when you have, um, if you listen to Dr. King's speech, how you doing? Sensationalism in height, exactly. But when you look to speeches, Dr. King, anybody's speech, Malcolm X, John Kennedy, any of their speeches, they have their rises and their falls. They know how to swing the crowd through rhythm. And then you build them up and you let them down a little bit. Then build them higher and let them down a little bit until you get to that final crescendo so that the people walk away charged. They feel charged up. One of the reasons why Nixon lost is because he was a boring, horrible speaker and he didn't wear makeup and the lighting just looked horrible on him. That's anyway, if you study political science, you will see that that's one of the reasons why he lost. So the law of rhythm is in every aspect of your life, and you should be able to use it and use it in every aspect of your life. If you're a salesperson, when I was a sales trainer, I literally made my salespeople read this book. I made my salespeople read this book. And for them, they was like, this book has nothing to do with sales. And I had to break it down to them how we utilize it for sales. And in this portion, in talking about the law of rhythm, I expressed to them how your sales pitch has to have a rhythm to it, so that, and how you can change the rhythm of the people to which you're talking to. Are you willing to make a video for all 7 laws? There's one I made for all 7 laws a while back, but go to my YouTube page. There's a playlist for the Kybalion because it's too long to make one big long video. Because the Black Crow told me, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. The Kybalion. All right, so we're going to continue. Yeah, at the end of Dr. King's speech, talk about going, exactly. There's a hidden code in that speech too, but that's a whole nother conversation. But we're going to continue with this book since it's Thursday book club. The Hermetic Masters long since discovered that while the principle of rhythm it was invariable and ever in evidence in mental phenomenon, still there are 2 planes of its manifestation so far as mental phenomena are concerned. They discovered that there were 2 general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher, the understanding of which fact enables them to rise to the higher plane and thus escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum, which manifests on the lower plane. In other words, the swing of the pendulum occurred on the unconscious plane and on the conscious plane was not affected. This they call the law of neutralization. This is very important. The law of neutralization is something that you definitely want to understand because, as we had discussed earlier, as far as you can swing to the right is as far as you can swing to the left. I've lived that experience, especially financially, where I made $182,000 this year. Within 4 years, I made $12,000. I swung that high to the right and I swung that goddamn on low to the left. Now, normally you can swing into a negative 182. And if you, when you account for net worth and the things that I wind up losing, then it got a lot closer to that negative 182. All right. So but the goal is realizing how to polarize yourself, or in this case, use the law of neutralization to stay with minor swings. This is what most people are looking for. This is why most people would rather get a job than open a business. Well, this is why I tell most people you're more equipped to get a job than opening a business. If you want to deal with highs and lows, open a business. If you want to stay kind of steady, get a job. But a job may only get you here, whereas owning a business can get you here. So it depends upon your manifestations of what you desire and what you're willing to risk to get there. But let's get back to here, because I definitely want the reading part done by 12 so that if no customer walks in, we can continue to have conversation, because I am at my cigar lounge. Its operation consists in the rising of the ego above the vibration of the unconscious plane of mental activity, so that the negative swing of the pendulum is not manifested in the consciousness, and therefore they are not affected. It is akin to rising above a thing and letting it pass beneath you. The hermetic masters or advanced students polarizes himself at the desired pole, and by a process akin to refusing to participate in the backward swing, or if you prefer, a denial of its influence over him. He stands firm in his polarized position and allows the mental pendulum to swing back along the unconscious plane. All individuals who have attained any degree of self mastery accomplish this, more or less unknowingly or by refusing to allow their moods and negative mental states to affect them. They apply the law of neutralization. The master, however, carries this much to a much higher degree of proficiency, and by the use of his will, he attains a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of those who allow themselves to be swung back and forth, back and forward by the mental pendulum of moods and feelings. This is that last part. They are resolute. When you see, have you ever met someone who is absolutely resolute in their thought, their process, how they live their life? That resolute person is someone, at least in that area of their life, have mastered neutralization. They've ascended to a certain pole, and they will not relinquish from that pole, from that position. They're not going to allow their moods, their energy to swing them to the left. One of the reasons why I think many relationships end is because we do not stand resolute in our relationship. The things that, we actually literally believe in bullshit like honeymoon phases. For me, there is no such thing as a honeymoon phase. There is the happiness and joy that caused me to rise in love with you. There is the happiness and joy that I want to continue to have for the rest of our lives. As change happens, then we adjust in order to maintain a high level of romance, happiness, love, whatever it was that brought us together. We focus on that. There is no letting things get into a rut. This is just a normal swing back to the left. We out of the honeymoon and into the marriage. That's bullshit. Either we gonna keep this thing exciting, fun, having great conversations, incredible intimacy based on whatever our health level is, because you get older and things, hey baby, the hip don't move no more. I understand, but until such a thing happens, there's no bullshit. There's no excuses. There's no reason we should allow this thing to swing back. If I'm not constantly dating you, then and that's the thing. I dated you to get you. Whatever I did, I need to keep doing. And they actually do more and more and more. It's like a competition. We got to keep it going. But it's because people allow for this swing, this rhythm, and people already pre-accept that there's a rhythm of relationships of happy joy. Then it gets down, and then you swing all the way over here in the dating and getting married, all excited, and then all of a sudden you let it come back, and then you get it right in here, and then this is where you neutralize. And this is where I hear people coming to my cigar lounge all the time. Well, I love my wife, or I love my husband. It ain't how it used to be, but it ain't exciting. But they right here. This is the rut, and you're just swinging right here, and then you get tired of this rut. You're going over there. You're going. It's over. And when you have a person, when you stand resolute, you maintain it over here. It doesn't matter what happens in life. It doesn't matter how much money is made. It doesn't matter where you live, how you live in. That relationship, you maintain this part, right? You maintain this part. You have to. That's a person who stands resolute. Now, in order for that to work in a relationship, you must have two people who are standing resolute. Just the way it is. But that's the same. That happens in every aspect of your life, though. Every aspect of your life. You got people who are resolute on staying healthy. You have people who are resolute on staying wealthy. People who are resolute on having peace. There are people who love chaos. They stay resolute in having chaos. the thing about it, figure out what makes you happy, figure out what gives you joy, the people, and again, learn how to stay resolute in it. Stay there. Stay at that point. It doesn't matter what aspect of life. That's why I talked about in the unconscious and the conscious, the higher and the lower, the conscious and the unconscious planes. Every aspect of life exists as a frequency, on a plane. If you don't stand resolute in any portion of it, you're easily swung back to the left. Easily swung back to the left. All right. The the importance of, and the will. I forgot to talk about that, but it's going to talk about it here. The importance of this will. The importance of this will be appreciated by any thinking person who realizes what creatures of mood, feelings, and emotions the majority of people are, and how little mastery of themselves they manifest. If you will stop and consider a moment, you will realize how much these swings of rhythm have affected you in your life. How a period of enthusiasm has been invariably followed by an opposite feeling and mood of depression. Likewise, your moods and periods of courage have been succeeded by equal moods of fear. And so it has been with the majority of persons, tides of feelings having been risen and fallen with them, but they have never suspected the cause of the reason and the mental phenomenon, and understanding the workings of this principle. This principle will give one the key to the mastery of these rhythmic swings of feelings, and will enable him to know himself better and to avoid being carried away by these inflows and outflows. The will is superior to the conscious manifestations of this principle. Although the principle itself can never be destroyed, we may escape its effect, but the principle operates nevertheless. The pendulum ever swings, although we may escape from being carried along with it. So in order to have that resolution, that level of resolution, you have to be a person of strong will. It's really that simple, right? Polarity to stay in that. You have to be, it's that simple. The strength of will keeps you on that higher end of the pole that you are desiring to be at. When you lack the will to do so, or what some may call the discipline to do so, you find yourself easily swung back to the left. It is the same as a person whose happiness is dependent on another person. You have no will whatsoever if your happiness is dependent upon another person. If your wealth, your growth of wealth is dependent upon another person. Now, that doesn't negate team. So let me stop right there for a second, because when you start talking about wealth, people can look at that a little bit different. That doesn't negate team, the role that each person plays in the growth of wealth. Because I can speak from my own personal experience. If I'm not happy, if home is hell, then my ability to grow wealth was diminished. Because if I'm frustrated out there and I'm frustrated at home, then I'm taking that frustration home and then frustrated out there. That's when I only made $12,000. And that's when I realized I got to change my mental state, that I can never allow somebody else's energy to cause me to do what I did. I just said this last night. Oh, cool. That's that. What is it? That vortex of energy that you find yourself, that you are not in a romantic way, but you're mentally, energetically attracted to some things that you are already conscious of. But yes, so we have to recognize that you have to become of strong will, a strong mind. This is what got me. Somebody asked about meditating earlier. This is what got me started in meditations around 20, 25, 26 years ago. It was the idea of strengthening my will and looking at the areas where I was already strong willed and just applying that to the rest of my life. So let's continue, because there are other features of the operation of this principle of rhythm of which we wish to speak at this point. There comes into this operation at which is known as the law of compensation. One of the definitions or meanings of this word compensate is to counterbalance, which is the sense of which the hermeticists use the term. The hermeticist uses the term. It is this law of compensation to which the Kybalion refers when it says the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensate. So y'all get that part. It's not hard. Compensation, we understand it. The law of compensation, but it's going to go more into it. The law of compensation is that the swing in the one direction determines the swing in the opposite direction, or to the opposite pole of one balance or counterbalance. But you seen where you counterbalance weights. I'm sure y'all did that in school when you was younger. Well, we did. Or counterbalance the other. On the physical plane, we see many examples of this law. The pendulum of the clock swings at a certain distance to the right and then an equal distance to the left. The seasons balance each other in the same way. The tides flow the same law. And the same law is manifested in the phenomena of rhythm. The pendulum with a short swing in the direction in one direction, but has a short swing in the other direction. While the long swing to the right invariably means a long swing to the left, an object hurling upward to a certain height has an equal distance to traverse on its return. The force with which the projectile is sent upward, a mile, is reproduced when the project returns to the earth on its return journey. This law is consistent on the physical plane as reference to the standard authority as standard authorities will show. Understand this. I have a little bit of disagreement with this part, that last part of this one. A little bit of disagreement. When it's in trying to indicate that as much energy as it takes to swing to the right is as much energy it takes to swing back. As that same energy comes to the left. I understand in most things scientific on the physical plane, absolutely correct. And I haven't read these parts in a long time, so it may say what I'm about to say. I don't know. But I can tell you this. If you have swung to the right on any subject, when it comes to your emotions, your mood, your mindset, and then you swing to the left, the amount of energy that it takes mentally for you to swing back to the right is way more energy that you needed to come back to the left. It is so much easier to let things fall apart. It is so much easier to go into the negative. It is so much easier to listen to these humans. It's so much easier to not do. And just when you talk about your health, is it easier, especially if you live in a Western culture, industrialized culture, I should say, if you live in any industrialized culture, is it easier to be healthy or is it easier to be unhealthy? Is it easier to be fit or is it easier to be fat? And yeah, I said fat. If it hurts your feelings, get over it. Which one is it easier to do? It's easier. Although one causes your body to be more damaged, your body to work harder, like your heart, the more you weigh, the unhealthier you are, your heart is working much, much harder. But it's easier to develop that than to develop health. But the mental energy that's required to move back to the right is far more energy than it requires for you to move to the left. The same thing goes with your relationships. The amount when you F it up, when you transgress the relationship severely, it takes a hell of a lot more energy to get back to the right than it took for you to transgress that relationship. It doesn't take that much energy at all to lie, to steal, to cheat in a relationship. But that loss of what up, Terrence? But that loss of man, having them 4 teeth pulled is getting on my nerves. That loss of trust, to get that back, it takes hella energy to get it back. I had an asshole of a staff sergeant that used to tell me all the time, in order for me to correct one wrong, I got to do 100 rights. but I didn't understand. I understood what he was saying, but the full reality of what he was saying back then didn't hit. But it takes way more energy to overcome one wrong than it does to create the one wrong. So I understand what the book is saying about equal, but it ain't all equal. Not when it comes to your emotions and moods and things of that nature. Scientific things based in the law of how we function, you know, fine. I get that. But when it comes to anything dealing with the consciousness and emotions, nah, it takes more energy. We'll see if it says something like that. Because like I said, I haven't read this one in a while. Like read the word for word in a while. But the hermetics carry it still further. They teach that a man's mental state are subject to the same law. The man who enjoys keenly is subject to keen suffering. So if you enjoy a lot, you can suffer a lot. While he who feels a little pain is capable of but feeling little joy. The pig suffers but little mentally, and enjoys but little. He is compensated. And on the other hand, there are other animals who enjoy keenly, but whose nervous organism and temperament cause them to suffer exquisite degrees of pain, and so it is with man. There are temperaments which permit but low degrees of enjoyment and equally low degrees of suffering, while there are others which permit the most intense enjoyment, but it also the most intense suffering. The rule is that the capacity for pain and pleasure in each individual are balanced. The law of compensation is at full operations. I will say something about that one as far as one thing I've experienced with, especially dealing with a lot of women, is that when women are hurt, like really hurt badly, oftentimes they will shut their feelings down because they never want to experience that amount of pain ever again. Men are a little different. Men will logically put that shit into a category and go back out there, but at a certain degree, we do that as well. But you'll hear it more from women about shutting themselves down uh, because they never want to experience that pain again, right? And when I've worked with some of them, I express to them, if you shut it down because you never want to experience this pain, you'll never be able to experience this level of joy. If you're only willing to experience this much pain, then you're only going to ever receive this much joy. So although some animals are preset, like I explained about a pig, humans, we can determine our level of joy and pain that we're willing to accept. I said you're more logical by being raised by your father. And oftentimes when that's why I don't say all. I like to say like most or a lot, but not all. But you're how you are raised. And I always, this is why when somebody asks me what's a good book for them to read, I ask, like, I need to know more about that person, because only you are 25% genetic. The rest of you is environment. She was raised by her father. Most likely picking up from her father, you're going to have a more logical mind. You're not going to give in to emotional states as much as somebody who was raised by in a very high emotional environment. When you have a lot of people, if you're raised by women who tell other women, girl, you better get your own stuff, don't worry, you don't need a man, you don't need a man, or you're raised by men who say all women are just trying to do is just take your money, them two will be hell for anybody to have to deal with, because they're dealing with the experience. That's the vibration that somebody has put into their mentality. So environment is going to determine most of your mental state. I wouldn't want to deal with either one of those kind of persons. But I just wanted you to understand, if you are a person who's been severely hurt and you put up blockades, then you're never going to get to the highest level of happiness, right? I'm glad that your father didn't. But you're never going to get to that highest level of happiness. So you better understand where you will accept being satisfied in your swing, right? And it's up to you. If you say that, you know what, this right here is good enough for me, then that's good enough for you. But like for myself, I had to realize, because I was right here for a while, but I had to say, nah, I need some of this. So in order for me to get to this level of happiness, I had to recognize I got to risk this much pain, and most people aren't willing to do that. Like the pimps, a woman hurt them on that upward swing, and the results are on the opposite side of the pendulum, right? But we gotta. But if you neutralize to the left, that's not a good life, and you don't need to have anybody around you. You need to go live on an island by yourself, and just walk around in circles. So that's where we at. 11:36. Okay. But the Hermeticists still go further in the matter. They teach that before one is able to enjoy certain degrees of pleasure, he must have swung as far proportionally towards the other pole of feelings. Like I just said, got to be willing to go over there. They hold, however, that the negative is precedent to the wait a minute, that the negative is precedent to the positive in this matter. That is to say that that in experiencing a certain degree of pleasure, it does not follow that he will have to pay up for it with a corresponding degree of pain. On the contrary, the pleasure is the rhythmic swing according to the law of compensation for a degree of pain previously experienced either in the present life or in a previous incarnation. It throws a new light on the problem of pain. So you don't have to go, once you've been there and you come back to the right, you don't have to go back to the left. Doesn't mean that you just have to swing, right? You can neutralize yourself to stay over here because you've already experienced that pain. And it's kind of like like I said, when I was a trainer, I had those clients, I knew they had to experience a certain level of pain, some of them, before they would ever do right. But once they got to the right, and I still follow some of them, and it's been a decade plus, they've maintained that healthier lifestyle now because they've experienced that pain. The lady who, when she finally took her sons to Six Flags and they couldn't close the bar, and that amount of pain she experienced that one day, she has never swung back to the left. She has led a healthy life, and that was back in 2008. Yeah, around 2008, 2009. So it's been 10 plus years, and she's still on my Facebook page, and I can still see that she's maintained a healthier lifestyle. Hey, how you doing? So you don't necessarily have to swing back. Neutralize yourself to the right. The Hermeticist regards the chain of lives as continuous and as forming a part of one's life or of the individual, so that in consequence, am I reading that right? For some reason, this just don't feel like I read that right. The Hermetist regards the chain of lives as continuous and as forming a part of one's life of the individual, so that in consequence, the rhythm swings is understood in this way, while it would be without meaning unless the truth of reincarnation is admitted. So what they're saying is that sometimes the rhythm that you're expecting right now, that you're experiencing right now, where you are on the pole, is more kind of like the caste system of the Hindu, that you might have never paid for whatever you did to the right, and you was on the backswing. Now you're experiencing the backswing in this life right now. Some yes and some no. All right. I don't, and one of the problems I have with modern day Hinduism, because Hinduism before the Europeans got there was different than the Hinduism that is going on today. this caste system that they have. This if you were born and you're in this lower caste, is because you need to satisfy some dharma or something like that. And now you have to live this life, but be happy in this oppression that we're giving you, because if you're happy in this oppression and you do well in this oppression, when you die and you come back, you might be in a higher caste. No, that's some outside force. That's some mental bullshit. You determine if reincarnation is a process. And I like using the Bodo Todo. I like the Tibetan Dead Book of the Dead version. It is your mental state that determines how things are happening in your life. And if it is your mental state that is determining how things are happening in your life, why would it not be your mental state that determines what happened in your reincarnation process? If that's the process, if that's what happens, then your mental thought process. Like when I talk to anybody from any different religion, I'll talk to them about how they conceptualize their afterlife. Well, if you go into that state and this is what you believe, like really truly back of your mind, not the bullshit that you say to other people, but in the darkness of your mind, when you're alone with just yourself, that trueness about yourself that most people are afraid to face, what do you really believe? And if you really believe that you're not good enough to go to any kind of heaven, that your life hasn't been as good, that you're gonna go, there's a chance you might go to hell or some type of hell or what, your ass gonna have some issues when you die. Because that's the truth, that truth is going to be there. That truth is going to be there. So some of what it's saying right here, I'm experiencing things because of my past life. Nah, because I can change that right now. I can change every aspect about my life right now. Right now, I can change that. So I don't necessarily agree with as if it's something that I can't do anything about. That is just there. People say that life is a class and we got to learn and we come back till we get it right. Yeah, and I can understand some aspect of that. You keep there, but it's not always just getting it right. Coming back to Earth is safe if you think about it from a, man, I was hoping that my UPS truck. Coming back to Earth is safe if you really think about it. Earth is safe because if you're going through that process, you already know where Earth got. You don't know that unknown tone. What's in that unknown? I'm telling y'all, you having these 4 teeth removed, certain words are not working right. You don't know what's in that unknown tunnel. You see that light, yeah, it's all lights, bright, and you've been told over and over again, walk to the light. The light is the way to heaven. Walk to the light. You don't know what's in that tunnel, but you know that's an earth light right there. That's a womb. That I know. I know that womb. I know Earth. Just look at how people are in their day-to-day lives. They're more apt to stick with what they deem as safe than they are to try something new. One of the dumbest things, I'm telling y'all, it used to drive me freaking insane. Somebody come into my popcorn shop. Oh, what kind of popcorn is that? Strawberry cheesecake. What? Ooh, I'm scared to try that. Why in the hell are you scared to try strawberry cheesecake? Oh, that's caramel coated with cheese. Ooh, I'm scared. I'm scared to try that. And these people would literally be scared. Why? That's stupid. You scared to taste something? Don't make sense to me. You know, I had to smile the whole time. But I was so happy when I didn't have to be in that popcorn shop no more, because I used to literally be going out my goddamn brain when people would say that. I'm scared to try that. That's dumb. But I had to recognize that people are built that way. People are afraid of things they're afraid of the unknown. Why is this prime truck just driving back and forth? Y'all hold on for 1 second. This man is getting on my nerves. What you looking for, man? What you looking for? That's her right there. You can just set it. If she's not there, you can just set it there. I'll get it in a little bit for her. Boy, I take it. Some of these folks. All right, so let's continue because I think I went a little bit off to the left or to the right on that one. So let's continue. But the hermeticists claim that the master or advanced student is able to a great degree to escape the swing of towards pain by the process of neutralization before mentioned. By rising on to the higher plane of the ego, much of the experience that comes to those dwelling in the lower plane is avoided and escaped. The law of compensation plays an important part in the lives of men and women. It will be noticed that one generally pays the price of anything he possesses or lacks. If he has one thing, he lacks another. If he has one thing, he lacks another. The balance is struck. No one can keep his pennies and have the bit of cake at the same time. Everything has its pleasant and unpleasant side. The things that one gains are always paid by the things that one loses. The rich possess much that the poor lack, while the poor often possess things that are beyond the reach of the rich. And I know everybody has heard this kind of mentality that it's about to go into, because I know what it's going to say. The millionaire may have the inclination towards feasting and the wealth wherewith to secure all dainty and luxuries of the table, while he lacks the appetite to enjoy the same. He envies the appetite and the digestion of the laborer who lacks the wealth and inclination of the millionaire, and who gets more pleasure from his plain food than the millionaire can obtain, even if his appetite were not jaded, nor his digestion ruined. For the wants, habits, and inclination differ. And so it is through life. The law of compensation is ever in operation, thriving to balance and counterbalance, and always succeeding in time. Even though several lives may be required for the return swing to the pendulum of rhythm. And that's the end of that chapter. I think that could have been written better or explained better if it was saying how the millionaire, to acquire $1 million, you lose something. You become a millionaire, and it's just talk about, the ability to enjoy food, but that ability to enjoy life. Like more money, more problems. The more money you have, the more people are trying to take it away from you. But what did you have to give up in order to get that money? Right? What did you have to give up to get it? Who did you have to step on? Who did you have to double cross? Those sorts of things. Are you able to live a happier life than not? I used to have a guy, a general manager for the school that I worked for. Time is money. Yeah, it is. I had a guy in this school. He used to say, money won't bring you happiness, but I can be miserable in a much nicer place. And I understood that. Money won't buy you the happiness. Now, it can buy me the things that I can do that will make me happy. Don't get me wrong. But money can't buy the happiness. But he would say you could be miserable in a much nicer place. If I'm going to be miserable, I want to be miserable in a nice house, driving a nice car, wearing nice clothes, going on nice vacations. I don't want to, I refuse to be miserable living substandard. No. That part will never make sense. I know people like to say that, oh, when you're poor, but poor people got happiness. Poor people got peace. I can have some peace and happiness with a whole bunch of goddamn money too. Now, there is probably a level where the peace and happiness that I can have is diluted because of the amount of money. Like which is going to be contrary to what I'm doing right now. This is contrary. This is going to sound hypocritical. I don't want to be famous. This is why I was telling y'all yesterday. I mean, not yesterday. If you was with me on Tuesday, after we had finished the lesson, I was saying I never wanted to be the one to start the bank because the person who starts that eventually becomes famous. I don't want to be famous. The lifestyle of a famous person sucks to me. You can't go to the movies and enjoy yourself. You can't go to a restaurant and enjoy yourself. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere you go is being watched. It's people, and it's not like, oh, the government watching you or media watching you. It's just people, everybody, and everybody wants a piece of you. Like, no. Sometimes I regret that I gave up playing baseball, and when I gave up, I didn't want my mom to spend the money to get me glasses so I can continue to play baseball because there was a higher possibility for me to achieve professional baseball than it was professional football or track. Definitely not basketball. But there's a part of me that's glad that I didn't because I would have hated being famous. So I'm sure whenever wealth would make me at a state where I'm easily recognizable, it would diminish my happiness. But I'm not taking that. I'm not going to be on that poor side. I refuse. And you don't have to be. And that's one of the main thing about neutralization is that you get to determine what side of the pole that you want to neutralize on. So whatever it is in your life, you make the decision to stay and only have small swings. And the key to that is recognizing as soon as things start moving to the left, as soon as they move to the left. So with my lady, I tell her all the time, hey, if you notice, don't wait for weeks and months to go by before saying something if I'm falling off the wagon. You know what I mean? Don't wait. It give you perfect example this morning. This morning. Now I'm gonna blame it. My bullshit excuse is the drugs that they gave me to do that surgery yesterday, right? That's the bullshit excuse. So I know she's listening. So my bullshit excuse of why I didn't pre-pull out her stool at the breakfast table this morning is because of the drugs. Right? It's because of the drugs. But when she sat down, she made a comment about me not pulling out her stool. So that pre-pulling out her stool, she made a comment about it. She wasn't being funny. It's because that's what I asked her to do. I don't want a moment of me not doing what I've done to make her feel loved, to make her feel respected, to make her feel happy. Not a moment. Don't wait a week. You ain't pulled out my breakfast stool in a week. And you ain't, you know, you ain't did this thing either, or that thing, or that thing, or that. No. You want to maintain neutralization. As soon as you see a little swing to the left, bring it back to the right. So, and the asshole comes out. She was like, "You gonna make me get up so you can pull the chair out?" And yes, exactly, I am. Like, get up. All right. I push the chair in or the stool in, and then I pull the stool back out. Okay, baby, now you can sit down. Because it's not me being funny. It has to be done. It can't be like, oh, okay, you got me. I know I didn't. All right, let's just go on about today, and we ain't gonna think about it no more. No. It has to be corrected. Right? It has to be corrected. You have to correct it. Um, she looked at me funny yesterday, coming home from the dental surgery. You don't carry nothing in this house. I don't care if it take me 3, 4, 5 trips. I'm carrying everything in the house. And only if I try to overload, may you not allow me to open the door for you. You're not doing that. You got to keep doing those things. And that's everything in life. Whatever is causing you to increase financially, as soon as you see yourself swinging a little bit to the left, you got to start back swinging to the right. Things change, things happen, new medium. Advertising, marketing is the same. It's just different modes of marketing now. You know, just a different model, but we keep moving with it. But it's still the same thing. Having good financial accounting is still the same thing. You know, you don't spend more than you make. You have to save and invest. That when we go through on one of our readings, it will be the richest man in Babylon. You're going to see the same lessons that you heard over and over again. They were doing 5,000 years ago. Same got doggone lessons. So the law of rhythm is essentially as much as something will swing to the right is as much as something will swing to the left, but you can neutralize yourself to one side, and have minor swings on that one side. Yeah, we like to say the rich getting richer because they understand neutralization. Um, let's see what some of the things people have said. You feel the same way. Once you take on the physical form, then that's when you can take on a coat of that experience. I'm not sure. That might have been something we was talking about earlier. Wealth is a large family that loves you in the end. It may be hell in the beginning, developing your family into great human beings. For some people, that's the thing. We all have the opportunity to define it for ourselves. I know some people who would a large family would be hell. They would rather family, yes. So the pole would be family. Whether large or small, the pole is family. So I'm with you. But for me, wealth is all of it. It's the family, it's the money, it's the experiences, it's everything. Um, from my understanding, Hinduism is a philosophy and was never meant to be a religion, although some Hindus treat it as right. You know, Western culture came in and told them people that it's a religion when it's not a religion, it's a philosophy. Those with the most money will always want to maintain our debt slavery. They also control our privatized and centralized financial institution. Yes, they do. And it's recognizing such things is how we start to change the vibration of it. Um, it's kind of like what we was talking about on Tuesday when I was talking about the bank system by creating the bank that we're going to create. The bank we're going to create. The debt system, fractional banking is the current the current mode. It's how we live. Mm, Nobody's changing that right now. You would have to have that change to happen at a country level in order for that to happen. Like you would have to have a country like Saudi Arabia change to 100% reserve banking and away from fractional banking. An individual try to do it, and the governments of the world gonna kill you. They're gonna kill you. That's but within fractional banking, there is the process of not living your life as a debt slave, of growing your wealth. Right. So when we understand that, then we can move forward utilizing that very tool that is in place to stop being a debt slave. Got a lot of hats, bro. But I forgot Kumo D did have a hat like this in Wild Wild West. I'm gonna go look it up. Um, but that's in everything. As far as you saying about debt slavery, if you simply like I was talking to my son the other day and I sent him his budget. As long as he maintained that budget, he will never be a slave to debt. Never, never be a slave to debt. He will always be in a position to be able to pay for it. Now, will he finance certain things? Yes, he will finance certain things. But even in financing it, it will not make him a slave. As there's a point where he is no longer a slave, a working slave to debt, where his money is the thing that's working and he is just managing the money. He doesn't have to go anywhere, be anywhere, do anything other than ensure more sound investments to not have to deal to not be a slave to that debt. If you understand what I'm saying. Basically, the investments will make more money than he is making, and he ain't got to work no more. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to trade your time in. You don't even really have to trade your mind in as much. Well, you still got to trade your mind in because you got to, it's always about looking for new opportunities to increase your finances. But that's the rhythm of things. That's the rhythm of our economy, the rhythm of how our society. There's an, and everybody's always looking for the next Facebook. Don't use Uber no more because Uber has yet to make money. But you're always looking for the next big thing, life changing. That would be great. If you could have jumped on Apple before 2004, like in 2003, 2002, when it was trading for like 25 cents, 45 cents per stock. And before the iPod came out. Yeah. Great. It traded at like 185 today. The best investment you could have made. But it's the smaller things. It's the smaller ones that most people have the opportunity for. It's the buying tax liens. It's buying foreclosures, courthouse steps. It's seeing new products coming out, catching a wave before it becomes overly developed. Like if you're trying to go and buy hair weave now, you're kind of late. Buy eyelashes, you kind of late. But if you had done it, 7, 8, 10 years ago, you'd have been first. You'd have been first. You've been one of the first ones in your area. You could have built up, a web presence. So finding even smaller opportunities. That's why I told you guys, like Tuesday, I created the page in and out of legacy business on all the platforms, because that's how you can build it. The stock market is a great way at times to free ourselves. But at a point, I was making more money a day than I was working. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not a stock market guy. Never been a stock market guy, but I'm impressed by people who can make that living on the stock market. That ain't me. That's not me. I'll need some S&P fund and sit in that joker for 30 years. But that day trading, not for me. But for some people, he's doing a contract in Kuwait right now. But I had a young man who used to come here, and he sits here and he day trade, and he makes some money in a few hours. Wasn't for me. Peace, George. How you doing? Wasn't for me though, because he just sitting there looking at that damn screen, and he put in his puts and his stuff like that all day. But what do you guys think of the law of rhythm? What is your biggest takeaway from the law of rhythm? Like what aspect of your life you'll implement it in? Your love life, your financial life, your spiritual life, your health. Like where do you see you need to implement the law of neutralization, increase your vibration so that you can move along the pole? But you understand how we went through the law of mentalism, law of correspondence, law of vibration, law of polarity, and now the law of rhythm. All of those work together. We still have the law of causation and the law of gender. We'll do those over the next 2 weeks on Thursdays. But can you now see how all of the ones so far, how they're all working together? You first have to have a mental. If you cannot create the mental imagery, the mental creation of everything happens as a mental creation first. That frequency becomes dependent upon that frequency manifests itself on all planes. And then what we normally just think about is our physical plane, but it has to first manifest itself on all planes. The Wright brothers first created the idea that they were going to fly in their mind before it became a reality. Then they got all these, so they got it in their mind. Then they got these people to work with them, and so it became more of a spiritual thing, um, because their energy, their work on it wasn't about making money. It wasn't about being first. They just had that, them and the people who work with them just had this thing about, we gonna fly. We gonna figure out how to fly. And from that emotional energy, they were able to figure things out to manifest it in our matter form, in the matter reality. And then you guys know the rest of the story. It's common for us to take flight. So things start in the mental. They hit on different planes until they materialize based on the vibration of our energies put towards it, physical, spiritual, emotional. And then we are working on that pole. We understand what the pole of it is, and then we increase that vibration so that we can manifest the thing. So, but you have to recognize, what is it that you want to do. They weren't saying, I want to build an airplane. I want to fly. Like all throughout history, man has said, I want to fly. I want to create a flying machine. I want to fly. They've created different methodologies that they thought they could fly. Because who's to say, why didn't they create a helicopter first? That thing was just flying. They looked at the birds, they looked at bees, they looked at all these other things that fly, and they tried to figure out a mechanical way of accomplishing that exact same task. There was already a guy, I think he was in Germany, who already had created a glider and was using the glider back in the day. But flying, machine mechanized flying, that became the thing. So and now we've looked at rhythm. Once you accomplish a thing, recognize that it can swing back to the left. But we want to neutralize things to the right. We want to neutralize things. I.e., sorry, y'all hurt. I.e., end of January, I'm moving to Puerto Rico. Why? Because I want to neutralize myself into 80-degree weather, 70, 80-degree weather year round. That's one of the reasons. But that will be a heat, and the heat is the pole. I don't want to experience the pole of below 60 ever again if I can help it. The only time I may experience that is coming to visit family during the wintertime. Excuse me. Oh my God, that hurts. But I don't want to experience wintertime. So moving to Puerto Rico at the end of January, because I'm going to only be 70 to 80 degrees and above. Neutralization of heat of my environment. There was a point to that. I was just forgot what the point was, but y'all get it. So other areas that you want to neutralize your life in. If you're going to have a relationship with somebody, you should establish what is the height of what are the higher vibrations of that relationship, and how y'all going to maintain it. If you're not doing that, if you're just like, oh, we're just gonna let it flow, just letting it flow, bullshit, you're gonna flow yourself right back to the left. You have to establish and always check up on how you're going to keep that relationship flowing correctly, flowing, in that same region of happiness for both of y'all. How you going to keep the money there? How you going to keep your body, your health? All those things you have to think about. You have to start with the mental manifestation and then go through the process all the way until you get to neutralization. And next week we'll talk about causation, which is the shit you got to do to get there. The cause and effect. I notice when Republicans control the economy, companies that profit off defense spending are great to invest in, even those you're funding the participating in devilish deeds. Oh, even though yep, you're right. Funding the war machine is what got us out of war. I think that's part of the main reason that we got out of the Great Depression was funding the war machine during World War II. Um, in general, when Republicans are in office, the economy is generally better most of the time. If you look at it over history, because generally you're going to have lower taxes, lower corporate taxes, and then you're going to have war. But there's always war. I'm trying to think of a president that didn't have some kind of defense thing going, some kind of war thing going on while they were president. Have we actually had one? I'm sure we had one. That one president wasn't fighting a damn war in the modern era too. Because as far back as I can think of, there was World War II, then it was Korea, then Vietnam, then you had things going on in Nicaragua and Panama and all that. Then you had Desert Storm and Desert Storm again, and Bosnia, Rwanda, Desert Storms, Afghanistan. You always had something. But yeah, defense contracting companies, if you don't mind what they do, it's a great place to put your money over the long term. To do long-term investments, sure. I'm not a financial advisor. It may be clear, but I'm just saying. I just know a couple of things. JFK and I warned us about our current Pentagon. Yeah. But these presidents want wars. Wars is good for economics for your country, and it keeps people distracted. Keeps you distracted. Every time people have started to wake up from in their consciousness, a war has always started. They was doing that, and then World War One. They was doing it again in World War Two. In Vietnam, in Korea. And there's always something. I don't know. I've seen the thing where they say all presidents are related. I I think that's a reach. I think it's a reach. You know, I mean, because that there is only 6 degrees of separation between any two people, and some of it's going to incorporate a bloodline, but or a marriage line. But I don't know. But yes, there's always a reset when we wake up. Every time the people start waking up, it's you got to reset the matrix. You got to reset the matrix. Can't have people waking up. Mm-mm. Can't have you realizing that you are more powerful than the system that you are living in. That can't happen. Can't have that. Brother, they all got to have. But I would like to see the people realize how much power they have and that they don't have to be subservient to the government. These presidents are selected. I do agree with these presidents are pre-selected, but related, not so much. I have to see some compelling evidence that they're biologically related. You've been noticing glitches in the matrix? You know, sometimes I don't want to accept that this is a computer. Like most of the time, I was like, this ain't a computer. It's a mental projection, a mental simulation, yes. But a computer simulation, I'm like, ah. But I can swear sometimes it seems like the goddamn the world just glitched. Like when it just glitched. Sometimes it does that. So I'm with you. They all go to, I think it was at Harvard College, Skull and Bones. Yeah, but not all of them are Skull and Bones members. Like, not all presidents are members of Skull and Bones. Now, are all of them members of different esoteric societies? Are these societies connected? Mm, some of them, yes. A lot of them, yes. A lot of them, no. Some of them are connected because members of different societies belong to different societies as well. but read the holographic universe. I think I saw a documentary on the holographic universe, and I think in that documentary, is that where it talks about like they created a computer program of a universe like our own, and when they did, they were able to input all the natural laws of the universe that we have, like the law of torque and gravity and all these kind of things, um, and pretty much create a holographic universe. So I mean, I don't know. We could. This all could just be a big ass hologram, big ass computer simulation. What are we gonna do about it? That's what I always get to. What if we're not? How do you get out of it? But how do you get out of it? How do you change it? How do you like? I know we all like the little Matrix movie, right? And Neo at the end of the first one was like, "I'm gonna show the people. I'm gonna show the people." So he showed a bunch of people, and a lot of people freed themselves. Zion became greater. Honestly, Zion was part of the Matrix as well because they built Zion and they destroyed Zion a bunch of times. That's based on the second movie. And then the one was actually Mr. Smith, not Neo. Because the one, Mr. Smith, the one who changed the universe. But he had to reintegrate himself into the Matrix in order for the Matrix to actually still work. Right? How do we, even when he thought he was out of the Matrix, he was still in the Matrix. If the universe, now I believe that the universe is a mental creation of an infinite mind. I think that creation, existence, has millions of degrees from the highest level of consciousness to the lowest level of consciousness. I don't think that you are able to swing to the lowest level of consciousness. I believe your consciousness is too complex. It's like, to be able to go that far down. It's kind of like if you take your cell phone today, you can't download your cell phone on a floppy disk. The computer programming is too complicated to be put on a 486. I used to have a 486. It couldn't hold your cell phone information right now. So you are like a cell phone, a smartphone, and a rat is a 486. A blade of grass is a floppy disk. You can't go that low, right? You can't be downloaded onto a lower consciousness, but you can only rise higher. But you can never escape, be as high as the designer. This matrix is a trap. The firmament is what keeps us reincarnated back here till we figure out to not go to the light. When you're on shrooms, it tell people see different things. It depends on who you are when you're on shrooms, man. Uh, it depends on who you are. You're talking science fiction, which has nothing to do with the Bible. Now, at one point, did I say anything about your Bible? When did I say anything about your Bible? This is what I'm saying. These people come over here talking about that. Now, you say something real, and I'll tell you something about your Bible, but I ain't say nothing about your Bible. Leave the earth, bro. Now, I'm just saying, different people see different things when they're on shrooms. So I wouldn't say it just plainly like that because some people are going to think, oh, if I do shrooms, then that's what I'm going to see. Um, I think you have to go through a process of opening your mind, of realizing certain things before you start to grow to that level where when you do something like that, that opens your mind even further. Um, so just more of an explanation of it when you open in order for you to open your mind to that degree. Now, I don't think that we can ever. You see, I do believe that there is an all. There's an intelligent, infinite mind. I don't think that we can ever surpass that or be on equal plane of it. All right. Now, see, I disagree, Joel, to a certain extent. This is real. Whatever the mind perceives as real, it is real. But what comes next, the different levels, the other levels, those are real too. Nothing is unreal because everything is a frequency. So I'm going to disagree there. Everything is real. This existence is real. The previous existence is real. The next existence is real. It is real while you're there. It is real when you're not there. Um, Now, there is that holographic thing that says that the computer program only uses the computer image to display the whatever is observed. If there was a part of the planet where no one is observing it, then it would be a blank slate, is what they're saying. But the moment somebody observes it, then the computer fills in the gaps. It's very convenient, but it's understandable as far as computer usage of power and efficiency is concerned. That makes sense. Why have a tree where no one is observing a tree? It should just be blank space. But once someone comes into observation range, then you build out a tree. You use the power to have a tree there. Um, I just don't think we're in a computer simulation. I don't agree with that part. I don't think there's aliens that are got us in a computer civilization, that sort of thing. I believe they put these old bastards in power to teach young Americans how they should treat someone different from. Yeah, they do, but they're losing that grip. They're losing that grip. It's not. They're not gonna be able to maintain that. You see what you started, Boondocks, about this damn glitch in the matrix. The physicist named James Giggs says he's discovered the computer code. He calls it undercar, un, unding, undercar code. Our smartphones are more powerful than the computers, which was as large as an entire room in the 1960s. Yes, they are. Um, sure, you should find computer code in every aspect of life. Ones and zeros, binary. I don't find that strange and then take the leap to say that that means that everything is existing in a computer code. We just use a computer to figure out life. It's kind of like the Fibonacci scale. The Fibonacci spiral is all throughout life, repeated over and over again. Sure, we can define it physically, but we can also define it mathematically. So finding computer code in existence is just a way of defining life mathematically. It doesn't negate life. It doesn't make it false that we exist in a hologram or exist in a computer. Because then, what would knowing the Fibonacci scale? What would that mean? That we live in some other kind of computer because it's math. It's a code. How walls start to vibrate when you're on shrooms, the eyes open. By me saying it's not real, I mean it can't really be seen what's out there. Okay, I see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, but it's still real, and but I understand what you're saying. To say that it's not real just indicates like it doesn't exist, but it's not. It's more to it than just the solid wall. Cities are set up like computers. Yes, they are. Well, I don't know. Atlanta ain't. If you only experience spiritual phenomena, it isn't real. I've experienced physical, spiritual phenomena, and I've experienced practical phenomena. Um, I do also recognize that everybody's spiritual experiences don't have to be the same. They don't have to look the same. They don't have to follow that same pathway. It's kind of like the whole going into the light thing, right? If you're told over and over again that after you near death experiences, you see the light and you walk into the light, you hear that all your life. So it becomes the expected thing, right? It becomes this expected thing. Now, I mean, Atlanta is not set up like a computer grid. Northern cities are set up. I just mean it like a computer grid, squares. Atlanta has so many curves. Um, but every everybody's experience doesn't have to be the same. It can't. It doesn't have to follow the same process. Everybody's path of enlightenment doesn't have to follow the same process. We have this need of personal reassurance that everybody has to experience things close enough to the same in order to validate our own. You don't. Um, when my third eye opened the first time, I forced it to be the same experience that everybody else had, that everybody that had studied at that time frame were experiencing. I forced my mind to create that, to manifest that. And I realized later on, and I was walking around, oh yeah, my third eye open. It was free and all that. And my statement was similar to everybody else's. And then about 10 years later, I was going through another process. And in this time, I had no defined parameters for what to experience. And when that third eye popped open this time, it was completely different than anybody else's experience that I've ever experienced. Like my man said, when you open your third eye, that's the true world. I came to recognize that all worlds are true worlds. That there is no such thing as that all the worlds are connected. In all energy is connected. All things are connected. That we fight battles that there's no need to fight. We give up our energies focused on these battles that there's no reason to battle it because it's all one. Like all the universe, all of existence, all of time is all this one thing that we try to create our own separations for. And there is no separation. They just move from one to the other, one to the other. That's it. Existence. We're talking about this is the true and this is the fake. Nah, it's just existence. That's it. The pole is existence. This existence is over here, while this existence is over there. But they all just exist. It's just different parts of the pole, just where you're vibrating at on the pole. But we want to argue that, hey, right here is the fake one, and right here is the real one. Nah, they both real. They both real. It's all one pole. And you're right, not everybody's on the same reincarnate level, which is why I wouldn't say that somebody's existence here is fake, that this is not a real existence, because for somebody, this is their real existence. For somebody, this is their enlightenment. Their enlightenment is not at your level of enlightenment, but this is their enlightenment. And everybody ain't going to the same place at the same time and being in the same place. There are family members that I know they could give two shits about my level of enlightenment. Think I'm too much. I think too much. I do too much. I have too much insight. I ask too many questions. Well, they're at their level. When they transition from here, they might come back here and be a little bit more, a little bit more. I'm going somewhere else. I'm not here. I'm somewhere else. But I ain't gonna worry about it. They'll get to wherever they get to. May never catch up with me again. May never see them again. Don't know. Some people think I'm crazy. Yeah. Welcome to the club, Adrian. Welcome to the club. If the majority of people don't think you're crazy, you might not be asking enough questions or digging deep enough. And I got a customer that's pulling up. I don't know who this person is, but I'm gonna have to get off here because of that, and because my jaw is hurting like hell. So tomorrow is what, Friday? We normally don't have a show on Friday, but I might do one on Friday. It just depends on how the morning starts with this medicine and everything in my jaw. So you guys enjoy yourself. Remember, wait a minute, he gonna beat me to the door. Oh, hold on, that little Ken. What up, man? You so stupid. Get off. Get my dang on hand.
What's up, baby?
Hey, come here. Come here. I'm gonna get off this right quick. Y'all see this is Ken? Ken getting married in a couple days.
The biggest party on the side of Mississippi.
Just want to say congratulations. All right. So I'll probably will, if I don't come on here tomorrow, I'll definitely make some videos tomorrow. So y'all have a great day. My jaw is killing me. Y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. And I will see you either live tomorrow or we will make a whole bunch of videos and I'll send those to you and they'll be pushed out tomorrow. So, like my man, peace, love, and harmony, all that good stuff. Oh, man, my jaw is killing me, dude.
You got any surgery?
I had dental surgery yesterday. I can't smoke a cigar for a week or so.